Bear, I was digging through my old stash this week. I thought maybe I'd do a little throwback to my time in Wyoming.
Not in my house, pal. Not in my house.
Well, easy there, Cam Newton.
Not in my house. Get it off the table. Represent.
I don't know why you got to be like that, Cam.
Not in our
I paid
house.
a lot of money for that mug, and you can't just take my personal property.
I just took it from you, like Cam did.
Well, I know it's the holiday season, so if that one doesn't work, I guess we can just go to these red cups.
Is
that okay, or is that going to
Is that a red
offend
Solo
you?
cup?
No, it's my red cup, like the Starbucks ones that are so offensive to people because they're not enough holiday spirit.
Oh, well, I can't help you with that one, but that other one's
Are you okay
nuts.
with this one?
That's okay. It doesn't have anything on it. No.
All right.
We'll get into that, I guess. I didn't have a problem with what Cam did.
I didn't either. I also don't have a problem with red cups.
Or red Solo cups.
I mean, you're just drinking your coffee out of a stupid cup. What doesn't matter.
I don't drink coffee, so it's irrelevant.
Anyway, this is our Extra Points show, and we're actually going to talk sports now that we're all through this.
Yes.
So stick around. We'll talk Packers, Badgers, and more.
Coming up.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back. It's Extra Points. It's John Barry. It's Eric Schmoldt. It's two guys in some back room at the Gazette talking sports, just like we try to do every week.
Every week, yes. A lot to cover this week.
Yeah. Well, we sat here last week and tried to talk Packer fans off the ledge because they had just come off a disgusting kind of loss at an undefeated Denver team, and now we are here a week later, and they're coming off another. Even the score was closer, but the game really wasn't that much closer. Lost to the undefeated Carolina Panthers. So what do we? I mean,
I think I would, if I was a Packer fan. I'm a diehard Packer fan, which I know there's a lot of them out there, and
they're just not at this table.
I would be more disturbed at what happened last week than I would at the Denver game, just because, yeah, you made it close at the end, but you made it close because Carolina went into a prevent defense, and it didn't prevent anything other than the Packers scoring quickly and getting back into it. But I think the first 54 minutes or so were, it's a trend, and a trend that's not going to get you very far in the playoffs. And, the defense can't stop anybody. Where's Eddie Lacy? I mean, is he still on the team? Is he still on the roster? I mean, he's been a non-factor, and he was, let's face it, probably considered one of the top 4 or 5 backs in the league. And
I thought I went out on a limb a little bit, maybe, but I took him with my number 1 overall pick in a fantasy league.
How's that working out for you?
We're 4 and 5, and that's a miracle.
Aaron made plays at the end, but still, I hate to beat a dead horse, but it goes back to they miss Nelson, and that defense is just not. They're not making plays. They're not getting off the field.
Well, and the other, I think, part that was alarming this weekend was the infighting a bit on the sidelines.
Right.
You had Clinton Dix, and I think, was it
Raji and Peppers
kind of going at it a little bit, which, I mean, you'll have that. And then you have Rodgers chucking his tablet on the sideline. I mean, maybe just not the – maybe it's just the shock value because you just never see the Packers really losing that much. But then to see them pan the sideline and see some weird stuff going on, that's stuff you would expect from a losing team.
Well, and I think the one thing that somebody pointed it out is the last time Rodgers lost 2 games in a row was 2010. Oh, by the way, they won the Super Bowl that year. So, I don't think there's any room for panic yet. They're 6-2. They still tied for the division lead with the Vikings. And, I think if you look at it in a broad sense instead of looking at the last 2 weeks, they're still the best team in that division. And they're still, they lost 2 games on the road to 2 teams that were undefeated. It's not like they went and, laid an egg against a mediocre team or a bad team. They lost to 2 teams that are still unbeaten. So, things to fix and things to repair, but now they get into the division play. They got the Vikings and Lions coming up twice, the Bears coming up on Thanksgiving, and now's when you find out, I think, a little bit more. And, one of the headlines you read was pretenders. And I don't look at them like that. I think the Packers are still contenders, and I still think they're one of the 2 or 3 best teams in a very, very weak NFC.
Right. I would say at this point it would be my guess that they would make it back to the conference title game. They would go back to Carolina again. And
right.
Even though they didn't look great on Sunday, I would still give Aaron Rodgers a pretty darn good chance to win a playoff game on the road at Carolina.
I think Cam Newton's won 1 playoff game in his career, and that was against Ryan Lindley-led team from Arizona. So, I mean, playoffs are whole different, breed, and I still like Green Bay's chances, but they do have some things to shore up, and it starts with that defense, and whatever Dom Capers is dishing out right now is not working.
To me, the big game is 2 weeks from now. It's Packers at Vikings. that'll tell you a lot about the division. I think they have to win that game just to say, oh, look, we're still the leaders of the pack here.
Right.
And I don't think I'm going too far out of the way by just overlooking this Lions upcoming game, because I feel like that you can pen that one in as a victory.
At Lambeau, coming off 2 losses, maybe it sounds like a trap game, but that's a game Green Bay should and I think will win.
So to me, it just comes down to, I don't know. Do you believe in this Vikings team yet? I mean, at 6-2.
Zimmer's done a great job, and obviously I'm a little partial. I'm a Vikings fan, but you've got Adrian Peterson, you've got a defense that's young and getting better, and you got a quarterback, the Teddy Bridgewater, that's learning how to manage the game. And I think that was his biggest downfall last year was he panicked in big situations, and now he's kind of calmed down. He's letting things happen. They've got a few playmakers starting to get a few guys. Rudolph's a good tight end.
Stephon Diggs
has been impressive. Cordell Patterson's been a bust. But, AP is kind of back to being AP, and that obviously makes them a much different team with him back there. So, for me as not a diehard Viking fan, but, a Viking fan, they're good, but I don't think they're in Green Bay's league.
Right.
No.
I would say they look the part of a playoff team,
right?
But not
a wild
division
card team,
winner.
but not their. Let's face it, that division still goes through Green Bay.
Anything else catch your eye on the NFL or the Packers scene this week?
I thought the poke in the eye by Talib was just beyond
stupid,
dumb, and for him to say he was just trying to poke him in the helmet is about as dumb a thing as I've ever heard. I mean, if you're trying to do that, first of all, tapping a guy in the helmet's going to make him stop what he's doing. I mean, you could see him literally stick his fingers in the guy's eyes and poke him, and I thought the one game was not enough. Let's put it that way. That was a blatant disregard for somebody's, you're talking about his sight, and that could have been a lot worse than it was. And I think for him to say that he didn't mean to do that is a crock.
Broncos losing at Indy. How about that?
Yeah. And now Andrew Luck's out for 2 to 6 weeks with kidney problems. So, that and the whole Greg Hardy thing, I don't care if he's a good player. I don't want him on my team. Yeah. I don't want anybody will do something like that.
I think it's time to just get him out of the league. I agree. I can't believe it's taken this long for someone to try
Dallas or Jerry Jones to say that he's a leader in our locker room and that, you know what, Jerry, if he's a great player, that's fine, but I don't want him on my team. Even Roger Staubach said, I'll root for the Cowboys, but he said I can't root for Greg Hardy, and I don't blame him.
Trying to remember back to what our preseason picks were, because we're pretty much at almost the halfway pole here.
I think I had Seattle and the Colts in the Super Bowl. Can't see that happening. New England looks great. New England looks just better than everybody else, but guys keep dropping. Deion Lewis, their stud running back's now done for the year with an ACL tear. Offensive lineman, they had a tight end playing guard the other day. But Brady keeps.
Well, I mean, somebody else said this the other day. Yeah, they still have Belichick, Brady, and Gronk, and that's. Yeah. I mean, as long as you have those three,
yeah,
you're probably
and you can say what you want, but I think if you took a vote right now, if anybody doesn't vote for Brady as MVP, they're clueless as to what's going on in the NFL right now.
I'll say Patriots over Packers.
Okay, and I would be. I can't buy into them, but I'm just going to say maybe it's just their time. I'm going to say Patriots over Panthers.
Yeah.
Yep.
I could still see the Seahawks doing it too.
I could too. I'm not counting them out, and I'm not counting Green Bay out, but I think Cam is just putting one of those years together where, they're going to ride his back, and their defense is pretty good with Kuechly, and they get to play at home, and that could make a big difference. Nobody wants to go to Lambeau in January, that's for sure. So I think now that, really the Packers are 2 behind in the loss column, but they're really 3 behind because if it comes down to it, they got the tiebreaker beating them. So,
yep. But it wouldn't shock me if the Panthers lost a few games.
No, not at all. And they're not going to go undefeated. Let's put it that way. Yeah.
So, stay with football and talk Badgers real quick.
Okay.
Corey Clement didn't go to Maryland the other day, but they found a way to get a win, and I mean, they're just kind of plodding along at this point.
Yeah, I mean, they're back into the top 25, which we said a couple of weeks ago they'll be there.
Which is kind of silly for me.
Yeah,
I mean, that means there's not a lot of great teams in this country.
Not great teams, and I would agree. And they get a bye this week to get healthy, which the bye couldn't come at a better time for them. I mean, that gives them a week off, maybe get a couple of guys back that they've been missing, particularly Traylor at tight end. And, you get Northwestern at home, who's also ranked. Iowa's not going to lose twice. I mean, that's a done deal. So you're looking at the runner-up in the West Division, and hopefully, if you keep winning, you got 2 games left. If you end up 10-2, I still think with Barry Alvarez on the committee, I still think that's good enough to get him a New Year's Day bowl, wherever that might be.
Yeah, maybe they go 11-2.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. Yeah. I mean, with that team, I will take it. If your only 2 losses are to unbeaten Iowa and Alabama that could be your national champion, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. More exciting, the Badgers begin their 3rd straight run to the Final Four on Friday night.
Yes, Ethan Happ.
I don't know if that's probably not going to happen, but
no. But I'm excited.
I guess all the talk going in is you got Nigel Hayes and Bronson Koenig that are kind of stepping up into the focal points, and now we got to see who's going to be ready to really kind of fill in around them.
Yeah, and I think the one thing with the Badgers, and it's true, this is where Bo Ryan is at his best, when he's got kids that are kind of young and unknown, and you know darn well that team's going to win 20 games, and Bo will have them ready, and they're not going to win the Big Ten, I don't think, but as good as the Big Ten's going to be,
I can't seem to find anybody that's not willing to pick Maryland to win the Big Ten.
Right, and I would agree. I mean, they're loaded, and with Diamond Stone in and the transfer they got coming in, I think they're the best team. But if the Badgers could go, win all your games at home at the Kohl Center and go 500 on the road, that's a good year. I mean, with as young as they are, they got everybody back next year. Their problem is going to be depth, and what production can they get from the bench, because I'm not sold on Vito Brown starting. I'm not sold on Showalter starting. I think with Happ and Koenig and Hayes, you've got 3 pretty dependable guys there, but you got to go 8 or 9 deep when you're that young, and that means some freshmen are going to have to play. Iverson, Thomas, guys like that are going to have to contribute, and they're going to have to be productive.
They will get tested pretty early on. Their schedule's not easy. I mean, they're going to play Georgetown.
Could play Duke.
Might play Duke again. They get Syracuse. And I think Marquette is an interesting game.
Marquette's going to be much better.
They got 4 pretty good non-conference games that will really let them know where they stand before the Big Ten season rolls around.
Yeah, and don't put much into Western Illinois and Siena or whoever else.
Don't like the Leathernecks?
The first couple of games, because those, they may get tested, but they're not going to be a true test of what they're going to see, especially once the Big Ten rolls, because the Big Ten really is going to be strong this year, probably as strong as it's been, at least in the upper half, in quite a few years.
Do you think that means the end of the streak of Bo Ryan's teams finishing in the top 4?
If I had to say right now, I'd say yes, but give Bo a season to get those kids, where they need to be, and he'll probably prove us wrong. So I would say yes, just because I think when you look at Michigan State, Maryland, Purdue, Ohio State's going to be better, Illinois will be better, Indiana's ranked. There's 7 or 8 teams that are all going to be pretty good. So, but
I say they finish 4th.
Let's hope.
I'm going to say they keep it alive.
All right, let's hope Bo can use his magic. I'll say 5th.
Okay, and will this be Bo Ryan's last year?
No.
I also say no. I don't.
No,
he came out and said it would be, and now he's wishy-washy on it.
Yeah, and I think I think he's going to like this group, and I think I don't think Hayes and Koenig, I don't think either one declares this year for the draft. It would be silly if they did. And with those kids back, and with the younger kids, I think Bo comes back at least next year. And
I also think he doesn't get a promise that guards the next head coach, and I think that's what he was kind of looking for when he went about what he was trying to do. And so
I would agree.
I think he sticks around for at least another one. Going on Sunday, so I'll get a chance to. I'll bring back some comments for next week about what I think about the Badgers in person. High school stuff kind of coming to an end here. We'll have more on our all-area teams coming up, and some basketball previews coming up. Right. Girls start next week.
Yeah, girls start practice Monday and start next week. And
all we got left for fall is Badger football continues to roll along. They're in a state semifinal Division II game Friday night.
Another tough task, but you know what? They've already knocked off unbeaten and top-ranked Wanakee, so why not Waukesha West, who plays in the Division I conference, hasn't given up a point in the playoffs, which smells like a formula for failure. But those Badger kids, they've been resilient all year. You talked about it in your column on Sunday. I talked about it after the game. The coach talked about it. He said, we don't panic. He said, we have just not been a team that worries about being behind or anything like that, and that was the case against Waunakee. They got down 3 different times by a touchdown, needed a 4th and miracle halfback pass that for some reason Waunakee didn't defend, and then a great play in overtime to give them the ball back on interception, and then Tyus Larson, who just like Matt said, the head coach, he probably couldn't squat 100 pounds. I mean, he is skin and bones, but boy, he kicked a 35-yarder that probably would have been good from 45 yards.
The key will be just not to fall too far behind, because this team
and find a way to score. I mean, they haven't given up a point, but Badger runs that offense that it's pretty run predicated, and if they can get in the ground and wind it down and get some points and keep the clock in their favor and not do anything silly and any turnovers or anything, you never know.
And then state swim Friday and Saturday up at the natatorium. Not a whole ton of girls from our area that are going up there, but Erin Donegan from Craig, 2 from Milton. I think we got 5 area swimmers.
5 area swimmers. And, the thing about swim is, you look at Erin Donegan, who's one of the best sophomores in the state, and, she's a sectional champion in the 200 individual medley, but yet she's not even in the fast heat at state because there's that many good swimmers. And her time, I think, was 2:07, which I think she ranks 9th or 10th coming into state. So she'll swim in heat 2. And, I saw last year with Benny Liang from Whitewater and the boys, swimming in heat 2 doesn't necessarily mean you can't medal, because Benny proved it wrong last year and won a state title by coming out of that second heat. So you never know when you get up at state. A lot of times, swimmers are tapering during the week and they're at their best. And, I think the biggest storyline coming out of this weekend is Beta Nelson from Verona. It's her senior year. Arguably the greatest swimmer to ever come out of this state. I don't think there's any question about that. Certainly the greatest female swimmer to ever come out of the state. And I'm curious to see what she does and how low she can go in her last high school meet.
That's pretty much all that's on my mind.
That's all up. What's an update on our Jets?
Jets leave for Alaska on Wednesday, and they won't be back for like 2 weeks. So that should be an interesting little trip.
Enjoy that bus ride.
they get on a plane.
They get on a plane. Okay, I'm just giving them grief.
But I think they have to get on like 4 planes to get there.
Yeah, they probably do.
Something ridiculous.
And where are they headed? Denali or Kenai?
Kenai and Fairbanks. They get back to back, so they.
Wow.
You're gone for a little while.
I don't know. What season are they in Alaska? Is the sun set or it never sets? I don't know.
Should be dark most of the time, I would think.
Like, is golf is golf part of the part of the script for those 2 weeks, or probably not?
I don't think so.
No golfing
Maybe
going on.
Maps.
Okay, all right.
I don't know if they're going any sort of wild animal cruises.
Maybe they can go look at polar bears
see
or
some bears,
eat some
walruses,
seal blubber or something. I don't know what they do up there.
I was going to go talk to him about it and see what they got planned.
Oh, man.
Let us know what you think of the show. You can leave a comment here or leave us a review on YouTube or iTunes, and we'll read it on the show if you come up with something clever enough.
Yes.
I'm not just going to sit here and say that we're going to say anything.
No, we're not.
You can find us on Twitter or email us at sports@gazetteextra.com. Producer is Andrew Ryder. Kevin McLeod is on the tunes. And I'm about to go fix my one mug and then fill the other one up with coffee, and hope that people don't get offended by its color.
That's right.
Because apparently that's what people do these days.
That's right. They don't. Not in our house.
See you next week, everybody.
Take care, everybody.